basically, we're going to go into a little bit of like general history of Nachmo and then kind of some details or expectations. We do have like some info on the website, which I can plop into the chat. And then there's also like, if you look on the website, there's like a tab. It's also like on the main page, but there's a tab underneath the tab that's like frequently asked questions that also might be able to answer some questions that like random things that you might think of. But yeah, we'll try to see and hit up like as much as we can. And then if you all have questions, feel free to ask at the end. But Amelia has been, well, real quick, what happened, Nachmo has been in Pittsburgh for 6 years now, I think. This is going to be the 6th year. And Shayna Simmons Dance took over kind of the presenting or production element of it. And so Amelia and myself are also like the co-directors of all the content and material and the decisions that are made. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at right now. This is the first year SSD has been doing it. We're keeping things pretty similar to last year, but we just have one little thing that we're changing. So Amelia is going to tell you like what Nachmo is and kind of her history with it and all the things like that.
Yeah, totally. So Nachmo stands for National Choreographers Month. It is a national challenge to get you started right away at the top of the year, January 1st, back in the studio or back dancing in your room. They call it your choreographic kick in the pants to start the year off right. So how the national hub works is they send out prompts every day over social media and they expect you to follow them. They're designed to be done in like 5 minutes. It's a very low key, low effort. If you just do the prompts in your bedroom and do it for yourself, you've done the challenge. If you use it to create an entire piece you present somewhere, you've also done the challenge. I have done it the past maybe 3 years, I think. We did a video presentation one during quarantine, and then the past 2 have been in person again. And it's been really, really cool, honestly, getting that inspiration. It's like, the holidays, you slow down, it's dark, everybody's like sleepy. So starting the year being like, being held accountable to making something and committing to that has been, I don't know, in my opinion, really, really valuable. And every time I've done it, I've really enjoyed it. I've gotten interesting feedback. Some, not that it was bad feedback, but when you try something new that's out of your comfort zone and your usual way of doing things, sometimes it doesn't work. And that's valuable feedback too.
Yeah, and I think that's also part of like what the national organization is trying to do is, I mean, you're assuming 31 days of prompts, which is like a lot of prompts. So all these prompts that they're giving us are wide variety of things that we may or may not have ever done before. So it's really about like self-experimentation, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. They're designed to make you think outside the box. And like Shayna said, try things maybe you didn't think of before in your process.
Yeah. And then the companies that were doing Nachmo before, there was a girl, Caitlin Flynn Goodwin, that used to live in Pittsburgh, but she's since moved. She had a company called Core Dance, and she was the one that really started it. And then there was, I think, Amelia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Angelica Danielle and Marcy Day took it over for the past few years. And then here we are with us. So kind of had a rotation of maybe like 2 to 3 years per person. But yeah, so then Amelia, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that about Nachmo National or anything?
I don't think so. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So then basically what I wanted to talk about was Amelia and I have talked about, I've never actually done Nachmo. I've just been on this feedback panel for like multiple years. I think I did the first one, to be honest, and then maybe the second, maybe not the third, maybe the fourth, who knows? It was just like kind of random all over the place. But so one of the things, and we do have a question about the feedback panel element, but we'll get there later. But that's been my experience with Nachmo. I've always really enjoyed it. Just to kind of, it really pulls a lot of variety of works and choreographers in Pittsburgh or emerging artists or just dancers that want to try something. So it's really, again, just this like experimentation kind of thing. And it's really cool. So what Amelia and I were talking about was we have the national daily prompts that are going to happen. And then what we have been in talks about is that for us, we really feel like that's great to kind of, you can use that as a choreographic prompt, or you can just use it as a movement prompt. So I kind of like looking at the daily prompt element as just a short, like, let's try this, and either we roll with it or we don't. What Amelia and I are going to do this year, it's going to be like a secondary track. What we're really interested in is the choreographic process for people and the development of creating something new. Again, these works that can be shown, they do not have to be shown, are like 5 minutes or under. So they're really seed ideas. It's not a masterpiece of choreography. So there's no pressure to feel like it's finished or anything like that. It's really just kind of showing what the process was throughout the month of January. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're actually going to create, like, starting January 8th. So not at the very beginning of the month, but on the second week of January, we're going to start giving out bi-weekly prompts. So instead of it being daily, this is more of like a development of your choreography prompt. So instead of it being random prompts every day, it's like, we're going to start on this Monday, and then you're going to have a few days to work with it or not work with it, just kind of see if you want to. And then we're going to give you another one that probably relates to the first one. And so we're going to try to string them together week by week. So at the end, you're going to have like 6 different consecutive ideas of an interjection, an interruption of something that you were doing. Again, you can like choose to not go with it or go with it, but what we're interested in is via social media, seeing how that prompt might change what you were already working for. So let's say we have like a long phrase that we've developed, we get our bi-weekly prompt. How does that change the phrase? And we want to see both examples, or we want to see the first post versus like the second post 4 days later, or whatever it is. So that's kind of what we're like trying to, like, as far as like the Pittsburgh hub is doing, that's what we're kind of going to focus on. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's like the long and skinny of it. There's like the daily prompts, there's the bi-weekly prompts. You can choose to do one, both, neither, it's just kind of like your time. But we're just kind of giving you ideas of things to go with. And then we're just going to hit some like possible questions that you might have. There is a $15 registration fee. So you can register for Notchmo via the Shayna Simmons Dance website. There's a button that says register. And then there's also like some questions, just because whenever we pull our program together, we're going to know how you want to be presented and like all these questions that we'll figure out later. Amelia, did you want to talk about the 2 registrations that happen?
Yes. So we have our personal registration for Pittsburgh for the showcase, all of that. There's also a national registration on Notchmo's website that they would like you to do because they want to get their demographics data. They want to see who's participating, who's interested. It helps them as like a nonprofit to be able to show who they are benefiting as a nonprofit, and hopefully like get some funding and get more attention and promotion and all of that kind of stuff. So in the past, they had like asked people to register through them first and then through us, but we're saying it's okay, just register with us and also register with them, please. But it's not like that, I don't know, required as it was in the past.
Yeah, the national they were a little delayed this year. So Amelia and I just had to make a decision. We were like, we're just going to open our registration. Let's go for it, because it wasn't really, we just didn't want to wait. And it was like, it's really late in the game. So we're going to send out an email with all of that information for people that have already registered with us, and just be like, hey, go register with the national. That's all you do. Yeah. So one of the components I had kind of mentioned, if you have a social media account, because a lot of this happens via social media, like the prompts will be released via social media. I think the bi-weekly prompts, we're probably going to either try to do like a video that we send out, like it's like a short 1 minute, like verbal explanation, or we might try to do like an email or something like that, so that, and the branding will be very clear and different. But one thing that we're asking of people, if you can, we're not going to like kick you out if you don't, but we want to see your progress via social media. So if you can choose, and then you like hashtag Notchmo and you hashtag Notchmo Pittsburgh. But that's just kind of like one of the things that we kind of want to try to generate interest in this choreographic process for people. So I think that's going to be fun and helpful for general population to see.
And plus it like builds the community too. You can
Mhm.
see what the other choreographers are working on. I don't know. You're all in this together, keeps you inspired. But
Yeah. And then that also like you feel like you know a little bit of these people before the show. And the show is actually, I mean, I've never been backstage, but the feeling of it really feels so positive towards like everyone that's involved, and everyone's really happy to like finally meet each other and stuff like that. It like kind of is a fun experience for people. And again, you may or may not perform. It's totally up to you. We're not going to force you to be a part of the performance. So that's also like if you just want to kind of do it and then see where you're at mid-January or see where you're at towards the end. And then you have a couple weeks after that too. We pushed the performance date back to February 17th. So it used to be like right at the top of February, and we gave it a few weeks just to kind of allow for some further development for people.
How many
and
people watch the performance? Like, is it just family and friends that are watching the performance, or is it others that'll be there?
Yeah, it's usually it's an open to the public show. But I will say most of the people that come are probably related to someone in the show. So yeah, but it is open to the public, because it's just a generalized ticket sale. What we're doing this year is in the past, they've always had just sort of a casual studio showing for this kind of performance. What Amelia and I would like to do as we build over the next couple of years is have the potential for a second performance to be in an actual theater, maybe like in June. So having people do this kind of casual in studio performance, and then potentially a panel might choose 3 pieces for further development. But that's kind of like in the future. So this show would be at Pittsburgh Ballet Theater in the upstairs studio. And we just set up chairs. So it's very like friendly and casual. Yeah. One question we had for you was, because in the years past, we have had feedback panels. And Amelia and I were talking and we were like, I don't know, maybe we don't need that, because part of our reasoning for that, and again, so we're going to ask you too, if you would want feedback or not, because there's a couple of options. Amelia had mentioned like we could do like note cards in the audience so that the audience can or cannot jot down some notes to give you. And we want to prompt them in a certain way so that it's not just like loved it, you're beautiful, but like what's something that an audience member that doesn't know how to watch dance and doesn't know how to comment on dance, like how could we get them to start talking about dance, and like just being based on like, what did you notice, what did you see, was there a powerful moment for you, just kind of general things like that that might be helpful for you. But sometimes what happens in feedback panels is they start commenting on what they want to see or like strengths and weaknesses of what they saw. And part of us was like, it's like a 5-minute like thing that people are putting together in 1 month. It's not necessarily this like thing that's ready to be commented on. So we didn't know how everyone felt about that. I think for some people, they absolutely do want that kind of feedback because it helps them progress it, so there's also the option, like in the years past, we've said panelists, presenters, do you have questions for the panel? What do you want us to respond to? Most people don't have those questions. So we just kind of usually have commented on anything. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on having a panel? Either way, it's totally fine. We're just kind of like asking everyone.
I think both ideas are great. Having the people in the crowd also make comments on what they like from a non-dancer perspective. That's always nice to hear, because often the show that we're presenting is to non-dancers. So a dancer can always say, well, that was a beautiful pirouette, or that was a beautiful this, but then the crowd might see something differently. So it's nice to get their perspective. But I also see the benefits of having my teacher, Jen Keller, she calls it permission for feedback. So it's kind of opening up the space for them to say not what they would have done or what they would have liked to see, but more specifically commenting on the movement styles and asking questions artist questions about what was the meaning behind you doing this move? Was that purposeful or did something happen or stuff like that, just to engage in conversation in a more positive way. And we can't use the word interesting. So we always have to use other creative words. Oftentimes people say, that's really interesting. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But we have to be descriptives. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a benefit to have the panel choreographers there because oftentimes as young emerging artists, we really need to have that experience feedback and not just people that don't have that experience because they're not going to really understand the standard of which in the professional world it needs to be held. So having that feedback, I feel like it's really beneficial both sides.
Okay, cool. Monica, do you have any thoughts?
I'd say I generally lean more towards not having a panel. Just I've been to a lot of arts performances where, you know, the piece was amazing and like then you watch the I mean, this doesn't happen all the time, but the panel kind of like tear it apart and analyze it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're missing the art of it. You know, it's like they get too in their head about it kind of. So, but I do like the idea of like the audience having a chance to maybe ask a question or say something that stood out to them. Like I like that idea more than the idea of a panel. And especially for this, like you said, it's a not low pressure environment, which is like a 5-minute piece. I think there might be a reason for a panel at a different type of event, but I think for this, it's nice to just feel less pressure.
Yeah. And the other, like there, we had also tossed around like ideas of maybe it's just written feedback, you know, maybe it's not actually verbally. So we might still have the panel choreographers, but instead of it being like this verbal in the moment thing, maybe we just like write our thoughts down and then, you know, submit that or whatever. So there's a couple of different things we're talking about. We're just trying to gauge, I think, the people that are registering, you know, what their, where their interests lie. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had a couple other questions. When you register for the national one, is there a separate fee or is it just the $15 once for?
No, the $15 is for us to put on this show. We, you know, it's a low budget,
Not a lot of money.
not a lot of money, how it is. The national one, that's free. That's
Okay.
just for them to know. They don't charge to participate. All their stuff, all the posts are free on social media. They would just like to know who is participating. So I think you can also go on their email lists and they can send you some information, check in with you. Yeah, so no additional fee for the national.
Okay, cool. And the other question I had was, does everyone who wants to perform get to perform, or is there ever like too many people and you have to like do a lottery or, you know, something like that?
Yeah, we haven't run into that issue yet, as far as too many people. We did have someone, I had someone text me today and ask when they would be alerted of when we're accepting people or not. And that was a great question. So what I told them was, we're actually going to be like, as like the next couple weeks keep going, we're going to be on a rolling basis replying to people and saying, you know, welcome, you will be presenting on the 17th. If we, for some reason, have this massive influx of like 25 people, I think what we're going to do is we're going to split it into 2 shows. So depending on, again, like I don't anticipate us, you know, having like a massive amount of people signing up for this, but if that does start to happen, we'll probably have to cap it. And yes, right now it's just a rolling basis, first come, first serve, just because it's for the community. It's not a judgment kind of thing. It's just, you know, everyone dancing together. I think in the future, like I said, like if we were going to do a secondary theater performance or something that's a little more produced with lighting and tech, and that would probably be a select few that get that kind of scholarship opportunity of presentation. But yeah, for now, I don't think we're doing that. So the only thing that might happen is that we might have like a 6 p.m. performance and like an 8 p.m. performance, and it might be a totally different crowd of people. But yeah, that would be the only thing I think that we're thinking.
How many people do you usually have that come into this program to perform or in the past have performed?
I mean, Amelia, last year, was there like 10 artists presenting? 8, 9?
I want to say there was 10.
Yeah.
And the year
It was
before,
somewhere-
probably 8.
Yeah. So it's somewhere between like 8 and 12, I would say.
Yeah.
It's been consistently, I would say 8 at least
Mhm.
every year, since I've been on the panel. And then the audience last year, there was at least, I would say 30 if not
Mhm.
40 in the audience last year. So
Yeah, it was a good size. We had a good crowd last year.
yeah, it was like every seat was taken. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Any other desires or anything you might
Oh, I
want
have
to
a
see?
question.
Yeah, go for it.
Are the pieces, are they always solos? Does anyone ever work in a duet or anything, or is it
Yep.
open?
Yeah, it's like I've seen a choreographer not dance. And so there it's a duet that they choreographed on two other dancers. I've seen like Confluence Ballet, one of their first years, like had
Mhm.
10 people dancing.
Yeah.
That was probably a little too many just for the space, but it was still fine, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then some people are self solos, self
Oh.
creations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
That's
So
what-
it's very open. Yeah.
Very
yeah.
open. There's actually a lot of Indian classical dancers that participate in this, which is really fun to see kind of the different perspective on like how the process of choreography for both cultures. So
Mhm.
yeah, so again, it's like a wide, usually quite a wide, like Brittany did a dance theater solo last year. Yeah, and a lot of the time, I think it's like a good way for people to experiment with something that they either are kind of currently working on or just like want to start. They already had this idea, but they want to mess around with it through the lens of Nachmo. So that's always like also a really good thing. Or you can just like do it from scratch and kind of see what comes out of it too. I think that's what's fun about the feedback part of it.
I have a quick question. Do we have to utilize non-copyrighted music or is copyrighted music allowed?
Honestly, copyrighted music is going to be allowed. I don't think, Amelia, we haven't really talked about it. I don't think we'll be live streaming this. They had in the past, I think for a couple years because of COVID, but
Yeah.
I don't anticipate us live streaming this one. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. Yeah.
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 Yeah. People have used copyrighted music in the past, and
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever gotten in trouble for it because it's transformative enough, I believe, to be not just stealing art like a copyright issue. So you should be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any capability of like anything like like a screen, like video or anything? Or I don't know if there's like the tech for that or
Yeah, we're definitely accepting dance films. We need to figure out if we're adding a screen or if we are just projecting on the wall for the dance films. I do think we might have one dance film submission. We're also minimalizing that to 3 only. So first come, first serve, first 3 dance films, that's it. But so yeah, depending on what the needs might be, like what's happened in the past is they would just project on the wall behind the person. But yeah, so we will have a projector there.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank-
And then we are going to hire someone for photography. So we're going to get someone to photograph the show, and then we're probably going to self-film it, but hopefully with higher quality cameras. Like I have a couple, so it might not be like a professionally done, but we could give you the raw footage if you wanted to edit some things together and whatnot. So
Nice.
I think that's it. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Well, if you have any questions, let us know. The info here, I'll chat in the thing. Where is my chat? Did it go away? That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, so that is the website for the info. And then I can also probably find the no, actually, sorry. Yeah, if you just click on the button that says register, that'll take you to the registration page. It's actually through a different flip class, it's called. But yeah, I think that's it. Anyone else?
It sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's super fun. It's really yeah, it's just a fun time, and it's a funny little virtual way of like all processing together, you know, and then having this like culmination of performance at the end of it. So it's always a good time. But yeah, Amelia, any final thoughts?
Oh no, I'm excited. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really liked doing Nashville in the past, and I really appreciate having a space to share work. I know a lot of people really want to share work here. So I'm excited to see how Shayna and I can grow this into more than just a yearly showcase. That's what we're hoping to do, is grow it into more performances and more resources and stuff like that for the community. So it's like, hopefully we can do that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. And again, notchmopittsburgh@gmail.com. You can also email Shayna Simmons Dance at gmail.com or Amelia.
Mhm.
All of us will be able to pick any
Yeah.
of that up, but yeah. So let us know if you have any questions, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks everyone. Nice
you.
meeting
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.